Located on 225 acres in Garden City, Long Island, Nassau Community College, a member of the State University of New York system, has close to 20,000 students attend the school each year. The college mascot is Leo the Lion, and these are his stories of the school's absolute best and brightest who have graduated over the past 50 plus years. So let's catch up together as the Alumni Association of Nassau Community College proudly presents Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to Lion Tales. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and I am a director on the board of the Alumni Association at Nassau Community College and a proud graduate. I am here to celebrate the successes of our alum, and together we will share stories that will uplift, inspire, and often amuse you. Each week, I will introduce you to the alumni of Nassau Community College interested in sharing their experiences while attending the college and the secrets to their success. Look for many new and exciting events on the Alumni Association social media pages and share any exciting news with us on Facebook, Instagram, or on our webpage at ncc.edu/alumni. And don't forget to join the Alumni Association. Or find me on Twitter, now known as X, and Instagram at Dr. Lynnda Nadien. Did you know Leo the Lion is the mascot for Nassau Community College? Lions are ruled by Leo and fire. The male lions represent pride, while the female lions stand for teamwork. Together, we are Lion Tales. Today, I would like to welcome Frances Atkinson, class of 1989. Welcome to Lion Tales. Frances is a proud alum of Nassau Community College who completed her degree in 1989. She went on to earn a BA in sociology from SUNY Albany in 1982 and an MS in marketing from Johns Hopkins in 2006. Her hobbies include traveling, dancing, crafts, and reading. Her interests include mental health, LGBTQ issues, BIPOC issues, and Frances sees herself as a leader and became involved in many student activities at Nassau Community College. Welcome to Lion Tales, Frances Atkinson, class of 1989.
Thank you.
Yes. So tell us about your experience at Nassau Community College. You know, how was the journey getting here?
The funny thing is that I was very reluctant to attend Nassau Community College, but it was my father's decision for me to attend there, and I have to say that it was the best decision he made for me.
Great.
You know, like sometimes, well, during that time, you know, Nassau did not have a great reputation. Yes. In terms of when you're graduating from high school, folks are going to Cornell or other schools. But, like, by going to Nassau, it really set my journey into leadership. And, you know, the ironic part is that, you know, for all the folks that would joke about Nassau Community College, they're the ones that were losing out. Because, like, for the fraction that I paid to go there, you know, I was able to have professors from NYU, Adelphi, Hofstra, because, like, as you drive through the parking lot, you'd always see, like, faculty stickers on the cars for other institutions. So it was a great experience going there.
Yeah, and so I really believe, too, that also, you know, when your parents kind of make a decision, and even though you might be like, oh, I'm not sure, you know, they always seem to be right. You know, looking back, I feel like anything that they told me to do or I ended up doing because they kind of, not coerce me, but they sort of like made me move in that decision-making process. They helped me, and they were always right about that. Being at Nassau, too, once you were here, you know, what were some of the favorite courses that really inspired you to continue with the work and then finish your associates here?
So I would say that Black literature,
yes,
that was taught by Kenneth Jenkins, as well as sociology and criminology that was taught by Porter Kirkwood. Yes. It really set, like, the direction that I went into. You know, I grew up in North Belmore and predominantly white neighborhood. And by going to Kenneth Jenkins' classes, it really gave me a sense of who I was, you know, and where I fit in. And the same thing can be said for the sociology classes that I took. So, yeah, I think that it had like a huge impact in that way as far as learning more about myself.
Yes. Did you happen to have Professor Wise? Do you remember him?
I don't remember, to tell you the honest truth.
I remember that was a sociology class, and I learned so much from him, and it was a very diverse group of people in that class. And, you know, again, there's an inspiration that you get, you know, learning about yourself and also learning about the perils of society and, you know, how we evolved, and it's just so interesting.
Absolutely. The funny thing is that we'd always have dinner at 6:30, and every single day I had something new to talk about from my classes. So, yeah.
That's amazing. You know, they say that we should be doing Sunday dinners and making sure that that's sort of a time for everyone to come together at the table. And I hope that, you know, somehow families can bring that back to, I guess, what's kind of missing, because everyone's always rushing around, but it would be so nice to come back to the table and say, oh, this is what I did today. So describe your current work, what you're doing, and how's everything in D.C.?
Yeah, so I work for the American Public Health Association, and if you know, public health has many different areas. So I work with our leaders to have them educate other public health professionals as well as the public themselves. So, like whether it's epidemiology, public health nursing, HIV/AIDS, anything that concerns the public's health, I'm working with these leaders to improve. So I just really enjoy what I do.
Yeah. How do you think the Biden administration is doing in terms of public health in comparison to President Obama? Because with Obama and Obamacare, I feel that it was talked about a lot, and that was a big adventure for the Obama administration to have Obamacare and to bring that forward. But with Biden, it seems like they don't really speak about it as much. Is that true, or do you think that maybe I'm just missing it?
You may, I think that, there's still a lot going on, as well as defending the Affordable Care Act. You know, it frequently, it's coming under criticism. So there's a lot to be done there as far as what Biden is doing, as well as just public health funding in general. Yeah. You know, we were able to get a lot of funding when COVID occurred, but at this point, it looks like the House is trying to cut that funding. So Biden's pretty busy.
Yeah, it's something that is it can be very frightening for families. You know, even for newly retired, because you have to if you're young enough and you can't get Medicaid or Medicare, you have to pick up your own insurance, and you're paying for that. And then generally, people may or may not have insurance. I mean, and I think it's so important that everyone is covered and that you should never be turned away from proper medical care. Do you find that people are trying to become, I guess, more aware of what the public health has to offer them?
Yeah, I do. As well as, I think, public health is always the hidden secret, until normally we're doing things to make sure that the public is healthy, and then you don't hear about public health until something goes wrong, right. Whether it's exactly. The water situation in Flint, Michigan, right. Or COVID, but we're always there in the background, working hard to make sure that everyone is healthy.
Absolutely. So what are your concerns for mental health awareness in terms of the needs and the causes, and then the type of assistance that we can bring to people?
Yeah, so I previously worked for the American Psychiatric Association, and that brought a lot of awareness in terms of, the discrepancy as far as health care and then mental health. Mental health, it's just as if you had a disease and you have to treat it.
Yes.
Say, like, if you had cancer, you have to treat it.
Right.
So making sure all have access to mental health care, as well as trying to reduce the stigma of getting access to mental health workers.
Yes.
As well as, you don't have to necessarily go to a social worker or a psychologist. We also work with different religious institutions, so that folks can get, assistance there. So I think it's really important, especially for specific communities that have had that stigma, and, educating them as to why it's important to get the help that's necessary.
You are listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Frances Atkinson, class of 1989. Yes, in terms of the mental health needs it's the same thing as anything physical, because a mental health problem can cause you physical ailments as well. And it's something that needs to be really brought to the forefront so that everyone can be really taken care of as much as possible. Are there anything sort of on the table right now that promotes it, especially when we're having a lot of immigrants coming into the country and they don't really have safe spaces to go to, and maybe some of them are suffering? And anything that's being done by public health to assist with that?
Yeah, there are a lot of professionals that work in refugee and immigrant health, and that is just one piece of public health. There is that, as well as for locals, there is local chapters called NAMI that can assist on the local level and provide resources and direction as far as where they can access mental health assistance.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because you don't want to be sort of coming to a brand new country and then being completely alone and not having really the support. And it looks like an overwhelming task as well, because I'm sure that they don't have a lot of people who are equipped to do that type of work. And so it may be harder to give people the resources that they need. And in terms of LGBTQ and the BIPOC work that you've done, what do you think's needed, in your opinion, to kind of support, really truthfully, equity and equality? What do you think that looks like, moving forward into, the first 25 years of, the new millennium?
Right. I think definitely more education, into diversity, equity, and inclusion, definitely belonging,
Yes.
Is the first step towards that. Also, living in D.C., I can't encourage folks enough, if they see things that they don't feel comfortable with, that they reach out to their congressmen as well as their senators to let them know how they feel about certain situations.
Yes, because the safety, of everyone is really at stake, because we see, sort of what's happening with bias crimes or people with just overall intrinsic biases, and, sort of that causes violence. And, it's something that we might need to really, again, like you're saying, to keep the senators aware of what needs to be done on the floor, and then also the local Congress people to make sure that there's safety. That's so important. I wasn't aware of the acronym of BIPOC. I do, once I broke it down, and it's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. How do you think the acronym could be sort of less political and more meaningful so that it really does have an impact?
You know, I don't have an answer to that, to tell you the honest truth. You got, like, if you spoke to Jillian, my sister, that was interviewed last week, she is definitely the expert on that.
Yeah.
I'm like, so, yeah, but like, you know, it could be marginalized folks, you know, people, so that they have a better understanding as far as who is made up of who makes up BIPOC.
Yeah, we actually were speaking about the fact that, you know, how do we sort of eliminate stereotypical behavior, stereotypical judgment, having people become more excited about, you know, their own culture and their own being, and, you know, them providing those safe spaces for them. We did speak about that. So it is so interesting. One question too, do you think social media is helpful in spreading positive messages about equity and inclusion, or do you find it to be kind of a hindrance in some way?
Like, I think it's a positive, without a doubt, as far as spreading the word about inclusion. You know, of course, like, unfortunately, there's always going to be groups that unfavorable.
Yes, exactly.
and discriminate and carry those stereotypes. But for the most part, I really think that things are getting better with each generation.
Yes. Yeah, we spoke about that also, about the fact that it could be this generation that seems to be pretty knowledgeable of themselves as individuals and what they want, and that if they can kind of, you know, come together a little bit and, you know, spread that influence and their knowledge of, you know, what it means. And even in the LGBTQ community, it still seems to be not really completely understood. You know, we know that, you know, so June is Pride Month, but at the same time, so now that it's not Pride Month, now what? You know, What did the month do? Did it help? Did it hinder?
Right, and like, I think it's, you know, educating year round, similar to Black History Month. You know, it's just not 1 month. Like, you know, making sure that you educate throughout the year.
Yeah. So currently, now, when you have your BA in sociology, when you first attain the degree and to now, do you find that a lot of the strategies used are still appropriate, or have you adjusted when you work with individuals or when you work with groups?
Yeah, like, well, you know, one of the great things with sociology was that it made it easy to transition to marketing. You know, to have a better understanding of groups, as well as, like, my minor was psychology. So just having a good understanding of the group as well as individuals, and, you know, that kind of got me to look at consumer behavior in terms of, like, why do individuals purchase things? You know, what drives them to do that. So, yeah, I would definitely say so.
Yeah. Now so you're in marketing and you see, let's say, commercials on television, you see, I think a lot of the production companies or the people who make commercials think that if they're showing, they think equity and inclusion, I guess, would be having a multiracial couple in the commercial, or having a biracial, or having a gay couple. And what do you think that does in terms of marketing? Do you think people are aware that maybe groups are represented in a certain way, or that it's just kind of like a commercial and no one's really paying attention?
I think it definitely counts for the folks that might be of that group. Yeah. You know, I did get my master's in marketing in 2006, and funny enough, I focused on multicultural marketing. Wow. And that wasn't really popular then, you know, so it was a matter of pushing to see that. Before, you'd see many African Americans. However, you wouldn't see Latinos. You definitely wouldn't see a gay couple. Definitely, you know, not. So, like, it has changed, and it's for the good.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see some of the commercials are very, very long too, and so you wonder if people have the headspace to even kind of engage with it and watch it for a long period of time. You were listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien, and our guest today is Frances Atkinson, class of 1989. So how do you continue to inspire yourself and others on a daily basis?
I think, just making sure that, I'm doing good in the world. I know that sounds cheesy, but I've been working for the American Public Health Association for 20 years now, which, is, I never thought that I would be there for that long, but it's a fun job, and it's great to know that I'm helping people across the nation with their health. As well as continuing to be, I see myself as a leader. And one of the things I didn't mention was that I did have a minor role at Nassau Community College in student government, but that was the very start to me being a leader in other areas. So I was a leader when I went to SUNY Albany. And then, when I was at Johns Hopkins, creating a multicultural student alliance group. And then I've also been very active in my own community, making sure, to work on the local level of government. So I think that is... that's important to me, and I'll be continuing to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now you like traveling. Have you been to any places that really inspired you, and then you brought back, some ideas that transferred into your work? Where are some places that you've been that sort of really inspired you?
Well, funny enough, my mom, she used to work for Pan Am. Older folks will know that.
Yes.
And we used to travel a lot. And one of the places that we went when I was maybe 17 was Rio de Janeiro.
Oh.
And it had such an impact on me as far as the music, the people, the food. So I always, I mentioned that I love dancing. One of the things that I learned to do was Afro-Brazilian dance.
Oh, wow.
As well as, samba.
Yes.
And I continue to travel, and one of the things that you see is healthcare, global health. And, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not.
Yes.
I was born in England, so we see the system where everyone has access to health care, while the islands, there might be some challenges in getting the health care that's needed. So that does impact how I see public health.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, again, looking at something, healthcare is so important. And I think that other countries, I know it seems like everyone's totally covered and there's no question about it. And here we're still sort of struggling with putting it into perspective. And I think maybe everyone over 55 should be eligible for, as full complement of healthcare and children as well, just so that everyone is covered, because really it is such an important thing. And so your thoughts related to equity and inclusion again, and moving into higher education, how do you feel about that? The incoming freshmen that are coming to Nassau for the first time, what advice would you give to them?
Wow, I would say that you're very fortunate to be going to Nassau Community College. You'll get an excellent education, and to promote public health. Sometimes you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a nurse. Consider going into public health. If you don't like, the hard science, and not to say public health doesn't have science, because they certainly do, but as far as the blood or whatever, if you're, squeamish on that end, definitely consider public health. There's undergraduate programs now that are available. So, start off looking at like taking bio classes and health classes, and then you can go from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you think about doctors and nurses, everyone working in hospitals right now need the support of public health advocacy as well, because I think it will make things clearer.
Right.
Do you find that now post-pandemic, what are some of the needs on the table right now? Do you see anything like that we're still struggling with post-pandemic?
Oh, there's always, from the pandemic, I think there's still funds that will help, but public health in general, especially making sure that there are public health funds at the local level. So within our health departments, I mentioned earlier that those funds are being cut. It's so important to make sure that doesn't occur, that your health departments are fully funded so that they can react quickly if we were to have another situation like COVID. And one of the other things I just want to make clear is sometimes people don't understand what public health is. Yes. So you go to a doctor or a nurse, they are working on the individual, while public health is working on a community of a group of people. So educating them about specific issues. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely. I would like to thank our guest, Frances Atkinson, class of 1989. How can our listeners contact you?
Oh, sure. They can contact me. I am on Twitter.
Okay, which is now X.
X. And I'm on LinkedIn also.
Great, thank you. I would like to thank you for being our guest today. My name is Dr. Lynnda Nadien. I serve as a director on the board of the Nassau Community College Alumni Association, and I am a proud alum. Lion Tales is available as a podcast on iTunes, Android, and Podcasts, and Spreaker. More information is online at nccradio.org. Thanks for listening to Lion Tales on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.